film called Young Guns, going all the way back to 88 for this reference. Emilio Estevez, Kiefer Sutherland, Lou Diamond Phillips, Charlie Sheen, Dermot Mulrooney, among others, in that Young Guns film. That may be what you call the PGA Tour these days. As another young gun comes out on top. Justin Thomas, the latest young gun to hoist a major championship trophy, besting Jordan Spieth, by the way, his good buddy. Justin Thomas, the champion of the 99th PGA at Quail Hollow. We're joined now by Gil Capps from the Golf Channel to recap everything that took place over the weekend in Charlotte and everything that's still to come. Hey, Gil, happy Monday to you.
Pete, happy Monday to you, too. So are we all of a sudden, who's playing whom here? So who have you got playing Justin Thomas in that Young Guns movie? Does Charlie Sheen get who? You know, who gets the short straw and gets Charlie Sheen as the guy playing their character?
In other words, which one's going to run afoul of his bosses later on and be subject to tiger blood and all those things? You know, you can make a lot of analogies there, Gil. If you did tiger blood, you could, Tiger Eldrick, get that kind of blood going or something like that. Yeah, it's a good question. Back to my analogy. Yeah, I don't know who plays who. All I know is that Emilio Estevez got top billing, and so did Jordan Spieth this weekend. But ultimately, it was the number 2 name on the call sheet. That was Kiefer Sutherland, a.k.a. Justin Thomas, who walked away with the trophy. What was your takeaway from the weekend?
Yeah, in the end, some of the early week prognostication played out. It was a golf course that a lot of people thought was going to really favor the great drivers of the golf ball. The guys who hit it out there really long and keep it in play for the most part, and that fits Justin Thomas right to a T. He's a guy who wound up leading the field in driving distance. I think it's pretty fair to say that question, pound for pound, the longest hitter on the PGA Tour and in the world of golf right now. I think probably, coming out of a bathtub dripping wet, I don't think he cracks 160 pounds. But the club head swing and the speed he gets with his swing and his consistency in ball striking, the fact he hits that ball on the center of the club face consistently, almost as well as anyone in the game, it allows him to get that distance. And certainly not a shock for anybody in the world of golf to see him win and to see him play well on the weekend. A lot of times, Pete, we get days like we did yesterday where halfway through the final round, we had 5 guys tied for the lead, and it looks like it's going to be this big shootout, and everybody's thinking, oh, wow, we're going to have a huge playoff. And we've seen it plenty of times where one person kind of gets hot and is able to break away from that pack on the tough golf course and hold on until the end. And that's what he did. And that's also, too, we talk a lot about ball striking, and, just as in baseball and basketball, football, et cetera, analytics is really now a big part of golf with a new category called strokes gained, where it analyzes where players are picking up shots from the rest of the field and what parts of the game. All that's great, but the bottom line is still, if you're going to win golf tournaments, you still have to make putts. And obviously, Justin Thomas there, the long putt on 9 he made, the putt that him on the lip on 10 he made, and the chip in on 13. Those are really the three key shots, holding those 3 shots that put him in position to win that tournament yesterday, and he wound up being, I think, second in putting for the week. So the flagstick still matters in the game of golf, even for these guys who are such great ball strikers like Justin Thomas.
The history, we're visiting with Gil Capps, the history that Justin Thomas has, or the heritage, I guess would maybe be a more accurate word, if you could speak to that a little bit, because that was kind of neat that his dad is a PGA member of the PGA America, his grandfather's a member, and it's almost a little fitting that he was the guy holding up the Wanamaker Trophy at the end.
In the history of the game of golf, we haven't had very many players who've been sons, offspring of tour pros who have been real successful. A lot is put on their shoulders with some of the Nicklaus boys, and Gary Player's son tried to play for a while. Obviously, the most successful has been Bill Haas, really. Al Geiberger's stepson wound up doing pretty well. Julius Burrows, the son, got a PGA Tour win. We haven't had very many of those, but we've had quite a few PGA Tour players over the years who have been sons of PGA professionals who've grown up in the game of golf, around the game of golf, and been tutored by their fathers, and that's what Justin Thomas says. He's son of a PGA professional, born and grew up in Kentucky, and his father Mike actually the son of another PGA professional. So Justin's grandfather was also a PGA professional in the game of golf, and that lineage makes it neat. And the other thing that makes it neat, which is even rare, is the fact that still to this day that Justin's instructor and his teacher is his dad. That's pretty rare. Jim Furyk, a lot of people remember his father, is also his still to this day his instructor, and he calls upon him to help him with his golf game and talks to him consistently, and that's what happens here with Justin as well. And the other thing that I think, and if you read about their story, that's really neat. It's one of those that his father really didn't push him into golf. It was all of Justin's love for the game and being around the game and kind of wanting to emulate his dad, I think, and kind of be close to him and be around him. And he fell in love with the game that way. Never any pressure, never, really the dad going to the son and demanding, okay, got to get out of bed here and got to get to the range at 7 o'clock, and you're going to hit, 500 balls from 7 to 9, and then you're gonna run a mile, and then you're gonna come back and you're gonna hit hits to 11, and there was none of that with the Thomas family, and that's always nice to see when things work out, for what seems to be good people and a good family.
Gil, I'd be remiss if I didn't make sure I squeezed in asking you about the date change for the PGA moving forward. They mentioned that a lot on the broadcast as they talked about future dates that were coming up and the fact that eventually they're going to shift it to earlier in the schedule. Your thoughts on the dates changing for the PGA down the road and whether you like it or not?
I think in the grand scheme of things, it's a positive for the game of golf. So basically what we will have now, Pete, is we'll have the PGA Championship moving from August to the middle of May, and then the Players Championship, which a lot of people refer to as the game's fifth major, the crown jewel of the PGA Tour schedule, which used to be played in March 10 years ago, is now going to move back to March from its date in May, where it's been the last decade. So it kind of give you a run of the Players in March and the Masters in April, PGA Championship in May, U.S. Open in June. July will be the Open Championship over in the UK, and then August will be, it keeps going. It'll be 2020 and 2024 definitely golf in the Olympics, and then also a wrap up to the PGA Tour schedule with the FedEx Cup playoffs and the Tour Championship ending late August before Labor Day and then before football season gets cranked up. That's a big benefit for everybody. I think the PGA, for so long it's kind of been the final major, and that's kind of been, for a long time that was its tagline. And now moving to May, it's going to take out a few golf courses that it usually historically has gone to up in the upper Midwest, places like Hazeltine National in Minneapolis, outside Minneapolis, Whistling Straits in Wisconsin, and maybe even a place like Oak Hill in Rochester, which the folks there say it's beautiful in May. I'm sure sometimes it is, but we had a senior PGA up there about a decade over Memorial Day weekend, and it wasn't beautiful that weekend. Another thing, getting those courses in condition is another issue anywhere. May is, if you're a golfer, is a shoulder season everywhere in the country, whether you're transitioning from whatever cool weather you have. Obviously, it's not that cool in the Southwest and the South, but still you're transitioning from a lot of courses that overseed to that warmer weather you get during the summer, and sometimes that can be a little tricky there that time of year, and especially coming off golf courses further north where sometimes you get winter kill, sometimes you get bad winter. or it takes a little longer for those golf courses to recover in the spring, and those are kind of issues the PGA will have to deal with. But I think overall for golf, if things work out the way everybody would like them to, I think it'll be a big benefit for the sport.
And again, just to clarify, it's 2020 this starts, that the dates change?
2019. And they'll so we have one more year of the PGA Championship in May, and then we'll have the 2019 will be at Bethpage Bethpage State Park out on Long Island. So we'll right away we'll see kind of how this will work course conditioning wise. And obviously it is all a part of a PGA Tour schedule realignment. So this is just the first announcement. There are going to be more announcements they'll have to come to make this work, with some tournaments that may move to the fall, some tournaments that may even go away. So there'll be a lot of reshuffling and announcements later to come on all that from the side of the PGA Tour.
And you know that I will be keeping an eye on that. Gil Capps with us from the Golf Channel. You can find him on Twitter at Gil Capps. You can also find him on his website, gilcapps.com. He's the author of The Magnificent Masters, and he's the head of editorial research for Golf Channel and NBCSports.golf. Also one of my favorite guests, because I am a self-proclaimed golf geek, so I enjoy having Gil on to talk about the majors. The final one, at least for this year, in the books. Next year they go to St. Louis. One more year in that August spot, and then things change around. But we'll continue to reach out to our buddy Gil each time we have something golf going on. Thanks, Gil. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Pete. Have a good week.
You too, my friend. You too. Gil Capps with us there.